Since the Hamas terror attack, we have come to know how Nahal Oz, the kibbutz in southern Israel, right near the Gaza border, how it became the site of a horrible tragedy and massacre. Hamas terrorists tearing through the kibbutz early Saturday morning and murdering men, women, and children, kidnapping others, and lighting the kibbutz on fire as they went. One family torn apart in this is the family of Moshe Lavi, his sister Lishai Lavi, her husband Omri Miran, and their two young daughters. They were at home in Nahal Oz when Hamas terrorists broke into their home and held them hostage for hours there. Eventually, they kidnapped Omri, you see him right there. Lishai and their daughters survived. Moshe Lavi is here with me now. I mean, we're talking about, Moshe, thank you, just for everyone's knowledge, this is your sister. These are your nieces, and this is your brother-in-law, now kidnapped by Hamas. How, first and foremost, is your sister, and how are they doing right now, your nieces and your sister?
Yeah. First, thank you for your time and for the network's willingness to broadcast the story that represent only one tragedy out of thousands of families that were destroyed last Saturday, October 7th. My family is a strong family. We are supporting my sister as much as possible. She is in recovery now, especially mentally, after being captive for hours. My nieces are with her. They yesterday found the family dog, which was injured badly, but was found alive, and they were reunited with him. And that will bring strength to Lishai, Roni, and Alma. And it's a great tragedy for us, but we're coming from a strong, resilient family. We grew up in Sderot, it's a working class town that was targeted by Hamas and other terrorist organizations for 23 years now. And so we learned to live with this conflict and tragedy. Now it hit us personally.
I mean, but nothing at all like this. I mean, we're talking, your niece is 2 years old and 6 months right now. And they, from my understanding of what your family has told me, they hid in their safe room when they realized this was not the usual red alert siren. And that's when Hamas broke into their home and even used a neighbor's son, holding a neighbor's son to essentially coax or force them to come out of the safe room, which they did. They opened the door. And then can you tell us, what does your sister say then that they witnessed after that?
First we'll mention that that son was found murdered in a field yesterday with his mother. Even though he did what they asked him to with a gun point to his head. My sister and Omri were at home already for a few hours in the safe room. They just went out to prepare food for the babies. And then they realized the house has been broken into, first from the bathroom and also through the front door. They were terrified. They were thrown to the floor. They were handcuffed. They were treated violently. I don't want to go into too much details because in my opinion it's not something that can be processed by civilized human beings. They were treated violently. The babies were woken up with guns pointed at their heads. And I'm sure the 2-year-old Ronnie will be remembering this for the rest of her life. I have my first memory when I was 2 years old from it falling down the staircase, and I'm sure this will be much more traumatic to her. They were later grouped with another family, another two more families in a different house. When they entered, they went through the kibbutz, they saw bodies lying around, saw houses being burned with people inside. When they entered, they saw a teenage girl lying dead, shot on the spot by Hamas terrorists. They saw a terrified family, the parents, two siblings of that young lady, terrified, hollow faces, covered with blood. This was also live streamed on a Facebook of, I believe, one of those who were held captive. They took all the phones and they decided to use it. They were mocked, and again they were violently treated, tortured for hours. Eventually, Omri and a few others from that house were taken hostage in a car. They're missing since Saturday. The terrorists threatened my sister and a few others that they will be coming back to take them. They will be coming back to do whatever they wish with them because they're their property now. And for hours, my sister and the other members of the other family that were not taken were sitting terrified, hearing all the screams, babies screaming, my sister said.
I mean, this went on for hours.
Hours.
And hours.
The entire Saturday.
It's impossible to know, but why do you think that your sister survived? And I don't even want to use the word spared because she is dealing with, she's broken. But why?
I don't think we know. I think it's a lottery. It's a decision of one terrorist, whether to take someone that moment, whether to execute them, whether to leave them behind.
So then, Moshe, you know nothing of Omri and where he is.
We don't know anything.
What went through your mind? What have you heard from your sister then when that first hostage video was released just yesterday of Mia Shem? How did that impact them? On one hand, it's a relief to know that at least some of the hostages are still alive. We don't know Omri whereabouts, but we're hopeful that he is still alive and that he'll return to us. A lot of things, a lot of thoughts are going through their heads because you try to think the best, but when it's late at night, before you go to bed, you start to think the worst. I know this is an almost impossible question, but do you and Lishai on some level hope to see a video release of Omri? Or, I don't know.
I can tell you that in the first days after Omri was violently taken from us, I forced myself to watch horrific videos on social media just to spot him there, just to know where he is, how is he treated. I will have probably nightmares for the rest of my life from watching this. But it's important for everyone to know with what sort of barbarity Israeli civilians were dealing with last Saturday, October 7th. We do hope that a video will be released showing him safe and alive. But we're just one family.
Mm-hmm.
So many more families are torn apart.
You moved here just a couple years ago to the United States. And before that, I mean, you grew up in Sderot, that we said, and for everyone's knowledge, you also served in the IDF for years, and mainly along the Israel-Gaza border. Are you considering going back now? What's the family's view on this?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Sderot, lived there most of my life, but I had some international exposure in high school and then college here in the US, high school in Norway, and moved here again 2 years ago to attend business school in Philadelphia at Wharton. I just graduated in May and moved to New York. I was home a month ago with all my family. Just before I moved here, I remember our last dinner together, a day before I left. Omri was there, of course. We have so many silly photos from that event with my nieces, with my nephew, with my sisters, my parents. All of them went through terrible time. And I feel guilty that I wasn't with them. I served in the IDF for 6 years. I was an officer, I'm a captain in reserves. I was considering going back, but for the past few days, including yesterday, my family is begging me to stay here, and I'm now a soldier of my family and a soldier of all the hostages and a soldier of all the victims of this atrocity that was committed against the people of Israel, and also foreign nationals from all around the world. Thailand, Nepal, Cambodia, the US, France, the list goes on. And for now, I'm not going back, but the situation is so fluid.
Yeah.
And if I'll need to go back and serve, if I'll need to go back and be with my family in person, I will do that. But my priority right now is to support my family in the way they want me to support them, which is why I'm here.
Moshe, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And before we go to break, can we please put a picture back up of your sister, Lishai, Omri Miran, who is missing, that man missing, 2 young daughters, 2 years old, 6 months old, desperate to have their father home. Moshe Lavi, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.